In today's video, I'm going to reveal the secrets on how to trade moving averages. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you how this helps increase the odds of trading the what I call $1 million setup. Now, before we get started, I just have to give you a quick disclaimer. Assume everything that I say is wrong and make sure to consult a professional financial advisor before making any investments decisions. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. All right, so let's get into it. Moving averages. What I want to start with here is crude oil, because this is just a great example of how this strategy works. And I was looking at it last night. That's why I'm making this video, so you can see it firsthand. So what I want to show you here is just on the 5 minute. And let's look at crude oil last night during the Asian session. I'll zoom right into this so you can see it very clearly. And let me just get this brush out. So as you can see, I have the orange line, that is a 20 period exponential moving average. And the purple is the 50 period and the blue is the 200 period. So let's look at crude oil. What did we have here? Well, crude oil rallied in price and then it kind of went sideways a bit, came down almost to the 50 EMA here, came down to the 50 EMA here, and again here. And then after that, what did it do? It rallied in price. All right, so we do have a relationship in crude oil to the 50 EMA. This is on the 5 minute chart, right? So let's look at what continued to happen last night. What we have here is it starts developing this relationship to the 20 EMA. So we have a 20 period that the price is, it's false breaking and then moving higher. So we've created a higher high from this pullback. And then let's look at this again. What do we have happen? We have another pullback to this 20 EMA, creating a higher high. So that's interesting. We have this relationship. You can see it's acting as support. And then we get another pullback. So are you kind of getting this? See, at the end of the day, trading is about pattern recognition and being able to spot what the market is respecting in its recent price action. So we had another pullback to this 20 period EMA. I mean, after this first one, after you see that we have a relationship with the 50 and then our trend is accelerating when we start developing this relationship with the 20 period, this ended up being an excellent entry opportunity and another excellent entry opportunity here on the 20 period. So excellent risk rewards. And then what happens? Crude, I'm just going to highlight this for you. You can see we get another pullback to the 20 period. Now, interestingly enough, this one fails. So what does that tell us? Well, that relationship is now over. That's part of trading. You managed to get a couple of solid trades into the trend and then that relationship fades away. Now, I don't want to end there because that's the 5 minute chart. And you might be thinking to yourself, okay, that's great. That's the 5 minute. That's going to be almost impossible to see. Well, let's look at crude oil now on the hourly chart and tell me what you see here. So if we look at this trend, this has been going on for the last almost month. So since May. And what did crude develop? Let's just take a look at this. Well, we have a relationship here with the 50 period. We get another relationship here with the 50 period. You can see these pullbacks. So it breaks out of the structure, pulls back to the 50 period EMA. And each one of these, right? This one created a higher high. This one here created a higher high. Then we also had another pullback to it here. So you can see this 50 period has an excellent relationship with crude and gave us another pullback here, another one here to get in, capture that move, right? Are you getting this? And then this one here, it failed. The trend sold off a little bit. So far, it's had a very good relationship with the 50 EMA. And then what happens after we get a rally and price kind of chops around a bit, we start this relationship again. So here's the first one. Here's the second one. I'm just going to scroll forward here. And right now we're at the next one, the third one. So if you look at these pullbacks to these moving averages, right, each one's created a higher high and created another higher high. And then eventually they break down and that relationship fails, because if we just continued this same thing, everybody would be a billionaire in about 3 seconds. So the relationships do break, but you have to be able to spot these in real time. And a lot of people might look at this and say, cool, I'm going to try and trade a candlestick pattern off of it. But ultimately, we're looking to trade these patterns. We want to get our best price. And I'm going to show you how I do that. So let's look at a couple other charts here, because there's a few other things that you should know about these moving averages. So once we develop these relationships, when do we know that it's ending? What's a good example of that? So rather than just, because you might just place a trade on the moving average and hope for the best and hope for the best, and crude oil is a super strong trend. So let's look at some currencies, because they tend to whipsaw around a lot. So these are, let me just delete that. These are a little tougher to trade. Right? Trading requires a lot of thinking. Actually, I want to go to, yes. I'm just gonna switch up some charts just to make a quick point here. All right, so you can see here, what do we have on this pair, right? Which is the USD Norwegian. Well, let's circle some of these touches. So we start with a relationship to the 20 period here, creates a new high, right? We get a relationship again to the 20 period, another pullback, and then from there we get a new high, followed by another pullback to the 20 period, creates a new high. Are you getting this? Creates another pullback to the 20, creates a new high, right? Like, these are good relationships. They're very tradable structures, in my opinion. And then what happens? We get a pullback to a rising 20 here, fail to create a new high, pulls back to the 50. Okay, that's our first touch on a 50. And this brings me to my next point. Oftentimes, some of the best risk-reward trades can be the first pullback to a moving average. So as you can see, like this first touch, massive profits off of this if somebody were to take that. And that brings me to my next point, which is that oftentimes when we start to see a trend that's holding stable against a 20 period moving average, start to pull back to a 50 period, that could be a sign of a solid reversal in the structure. Why? Because we look at our higher time frame where we are. So once the trend starts to get more volatile, the pullbacks become deeper, and a lot of times that can be an example of a trend reversing. So now the question is, how do we get into these? Rather, you could just be buying at the pullback to the 20 EMA. Like, there's a few options. Let me show those to you here. So let's go to this pair now. And this becomes that example of that bottoming formation. So on the bottoming formation, you can see, what do we have here? We had a pretty strong move down right here. Boom, right? I think we can all see that. And then we had a pullback to the 20 period, which was also a pullback to this support level, now becoming resistance. And that created a new low, basically off that right here. And then we got another pullback to this 20. And the market's very thick here, so not the best setups, but I think it's good to show you what that reversal can look like, right? So we create a new low off of this, we pull back to the 20 again, and then we create another new low. Right here, we don't quite get to the 20 for the pullback. And then what happens? We do put in a new low, and right here, massive bar, we pull back to that 50 EMA, first time pullback, excellent trade setup, and we put in a new low that just barely breaks the previous low. And then what happens? The market reverses. Now we put in a new high. So now this is what a transition can look like. Where are we on the bigger picture? We're coming up to these swing lows here, right? So hopefully you're seeing that, and we have now a higher low that's been printed. So let's go ahead and look at how we can get into this and how this relates to the $1 million setup. So your one option you could be looking at is selling the rejections, right? So if we look now at the Aussie Canadian, if we want to look at selling the rejections, for example, well, here's a 50 EMA right here. We have a solid rejection off it. It's also the first time it touched it. So one idea is to be able to just buy when you see this big wick on the candle. Another idea is perhaps you like to wait for different types of candlestick patterns. And you get, I guess that would be an outside bar right there off of the 20. So there's some entry opportunities. Personally, my favorite, and this is how, if you watch the $1 Million Setup, this is what I like to trade. So let's break this next one down here. So today, let's look at this morning, which is going to be this structure right here. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it very clearly. I'm just going to blow this up. Okay, now I'm going to delete these red rectangle or these red circles here. That way we can get a clear shot of what I'm talking about. All right, so this structure appeared on the right that I just circled this morning. And where were we coming off of? Well, let's just do some quick analysis of this. On our bigger picture, we were right up here, right? We were right around this resistance level that I've had marked off on the hourly chart for the last week. So we came up to this level, we broke above it, we closed above it on the 5-minute, but then price immediately reversed down. So it's telling us that this level, this range that's been in place for the last week or so is still in place. I guess it's been almost 2 weeks. That's still in play. All right, so let's look at the 5-minute, and I'm giving you the analysis that I'm doing right now, play by play. So I see that. And then the next question is, okay, great. That level's holding, right? I can try and sell it on the hourly, but I want a great risk to reward. So what else can I find? So I wait for this setup here. What do I see? A nice horizontal structure, right? You might call this some type of a flag into the 20 period moving average. I have a downward sloping 20 period moving average. I have a downward sloping 50 period. And my 200's flat. We just rejected off of this resistance level that we've been watching. And if you watch the $1 Million Setup video, what do we get? We get a solid price rejection. I'll put an arrow on here just so it's a little bit cleaner. We get a solid price rejection off the level plus the 20 period here and here, right? And then we get a breakout trade opportunity here. So it offers 3 different entry opportunities on that. And it moves sideways directly into the 20 period. Now, you might be thinking, well, how do you get some type of confirmation that that move's gonna continue down? So what I did is I did my higher time frame analysis. Where are we? And I also want to look to the left to see if this is a type of pattern that this market uses. And what do I see when I look to the left? Well, you can see I have these support lines marked off where I was looking. So let me circle this for you again. You can see here we had this same basing structure into the 50 period before we had a nice rally up. And you can see here, right, if I just draw another line around here, I'll make it more clear for you. We had, after this previous breakout, let me just change my tool here, right? We had a breakout of this level, market went sideways almost right into the 20 period moving average again and rallied in price. So I'm looking back at this saying, okay, this market tends to like this structure. Well, there's a good opportunity then. And that had a massive sell-off, right out of that level. Boom, like that is a good trade opportunity in my books. Now, price is recovering. We're going into FOMC right now. So that's how I'm looking at the trade a moving average and how I kind of view these things, right? So when I'm looking for these patterns, I'm looking for, like if I start with this one, I'd want to see the market move sideways into a rising, which is here, 20 period, exponential moving average, a rising 50, and ideally a rising 200. And here, this was a deeper pullback, so I'm looking to trade it on a rising 50. And we get the rising 200. So you can see how 2 of my 3 moving averages are in the same direction. And I also get the same thing here. I have a dropping 20, right? And I have a dropping 50. So that's the setup. That's how I look to trade moving averages. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you like this video? Am I completely wrong? Let me know what you think. And wait to see you in the next one.